Good morning, Monday, YouTube. Cheers, something. I need more coffee. How's it going? My name is Kyle. I'm the Geekin Dad. Welcome back to the channel on this fine Monday morning. I hope you all had a wonderful week. I most certainly did. Hope you had a great weekend. Mine was pretty good because the Texans won. Woohoo! They beat a third-string quarterback though. Yay! In today's video, we are talking about a case. The first case of the year, the first case of the LMG, the first case of Geekin Dad, and that case is the Phanteks P400. Now this is not the updated P400S that has the silent sound dampening interior with the extra little touches with the expandability with the RGB. This is the original P400 from Phanteks. This is a $65 case, if at least at the time of my purchase on Amazon. And it sits right here in all of its wonder. In today's video, we're gonna go into the specs of this case, the build experience of this case, and after we get finished with all of that, we'll come back here and I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on the Phanteks Eclipse P400. Phanteks came on the case market scene a few years ago and have been a strong contender from the start. With their aggressive pricing for the features that deliver it at the build quality achieved, Phanteks has been a company I've wanted to get a case from for at least a couple of years now. You'll see that from the start we have some dings to contend with, literally, but that's on the carrier, not Phanteks themselves. Opening the packaging, we quickly find that the case itself is completely unharmed, and the packaging did exactly what it's supposed to do, keeping the computer case completely protected. Taking a tour of the case, we see that it's a standard mid-tower case. It's at 465 millimeters tall, 470 millimeters deep, and 210 millimeters wide. Or for us Yankees, that's 18.3 inches tall by 18.5 inches deep and 8.3 inches wide. With the space available, you can easily fit an ATX, micro ATX, or mini ITX motherboard in here, and there is support for eATX, although depending on the motherboard, you may lose access to the cable management grommets. Continuing the trend of what will fit, GPUs up to 395 millimeters long are supported if there are no additional hard drives mounted on the front, but if there are, you still have 280 millimeters of clearance, and that should be plenty for most cards. The case can support CPU coolers up to 160 millimeters tall, which should give you lots of options for what you want to use to keep the heart of your system cool. And as far as power supply and cable management are concerned, you have 270 millimeters of clearance for the power supply, that includes the cables, as well as 25 millimeter of clearance behind the motherboard for cable management. Also, the case comes with some nice Velcro straps to assist with cable management in the back, as well as a large motherboard backplate cutout for mounting hardware for CPU coolers. The Phanteks Eclipse P400 comes with two 120mm fans, one on the front for intake and one in the rear for exhaust, but it does have support for up to three 120mm intake fans on the front or 240mm fans if you'd like. It has support for two 120 or 140mm fans on the top of the case, and it supports that single rear 120mm fan. For water support, your best option is going to be to put your radiator up front, where you have support for up to a 360mm rad if you're going to go with a 3x120 setup, or a 280mm rad if you're going to go with a 2x140 setup. The front of the case comes off with a simple tug, and here's where we find our front accent LED light and the intake as well. With a decently wide opening at both the top and the bottom of this front panel, there shouldn't be any issues with starvation for air. We do also have, like I mentioned, that accent LED light. Now it's not full on RGB controllable, but it does rotate through enough color options to keep your average builder happy. That color option matches that of the power button, which we find on top. Speaking of what we find on top, we have our front I/O of two USB 3.0 ports, our microphone, and our headphone jack. Nothing special, but just enough to get us by. Building in this case is absolutely fantastic. Between the cable routing options to the SSD mount and the toolless hard drive brackets, getting the components in this case was a great experience. The case even came with standoffs pre-installed for a standard ATX motherboard, but in my case, I was using an MATX motherboard, so a couple of the standoffs had to be moved around, which wasn't that bad. The side panels, while technically toolless, did require a screwdriver to get them open up the first time, but after that, the self-latching screws are a great addition. The clear side panel window, while it's not glass, which there is an upgraded version of that, it does look nice and it does a good job of showing off your system while helping to keep the hidden stuff hidden, which is essentially just already hidden mess of cables under the power supply shroud. Speaking of the power supply shroud, the cable management itself in here is great. Like I said earlier, we have 25 millimeters of clearance behind the motherboard tray, which is a ton of room. We have the Velcro straps to help keep cables tidy. We have grommets all over the side of the motherboard to route your cables, as well as little holes that are just small enough for the things that you need to run and plug into the motherboard around the edge. For example, your front panel I/O, USB audio, and all of that good stuff. As far as dust management is concerned, there is a magnetized dust filter at the top of the case and a slide out filter for the power supply, and the front panel does have some dust filtering built into it as well, but after a couple of months I'll have to let you know just how well it does. So, like I said, this is an awesome freaking case. For $65, it hits every single high point you could want. It's got a little bit of the accent with the RGB, which 2016 was a breakout year for RGB, and based off of CES coverage for 2017, it looks like that trend is going to continue. It has the perfect way to hide your terrible cable management skills if you don't have any, with the PSU shroud being completely covered, although there is some ventilation holes so you can see, in my case, the mustard cables. But you know, honestly, it doesn't look that bad from my vantage point, and that's okay with me. I know it's not the prettiest thing to look at because it's just like an OEM green PCB and all that fun stuff, but hey, this is a phenomenal case. The only gripes I might have with it is when it arrived, the carrier didn't do a great job of treating it well, but the flip side of that is the fact that the packaging did exactly what it's supposed to do and kept it completely protected. The PSU fan filter is a little hard to get out, whatever. For this price point, I'm not gonna complain. And then also the only other little complaint that I might have is the fact that the top doesn't have the option to completely cover where that mesh is for those two fan grills. But you know, for $65, there's nothing here to argue about. Like Dimitri over at Hardware Connects has said about this case, it is perfect for the first time builder. You've got just enough high-end features to whet the appetite. You've got two fans, which is just enough to get air in and get air out. With the openness of the case, you're not gonna have to worry about airflow anyways, I don't think. And you've got a nice cover for your PSU shroud. This is a great first case for anybody who wants to look to build a computer. Like I said, $65. It's not exactly like a pure bottom of the bin budget case, but I mean, with a budget case these days being $50 or so, you can pay an extra $15 and get a really good bang for the buck. If you want to get the latest version, which is, I believe, the Eclipse P400S, that has the sound dampening material inside, that has a little bit of expandability for the LED strip that comes with this. You can pick that up for, I want to say, 80 or 85 bucks right now. So it's still a reasonable price if you want to pick up the upgrade. I have to say that I really love this case, and I think that if you purchase this case to build your computer in any build, be it your first build or your 500th build, I think you're really going to enjoy the experience of building in this case. So, with that all said, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you all so very much for watching. Do the doobly-doo down in the whatever below. I stole that from Vlogbrothers. I'm sorry, guys. I like the way you say it. And yeah, have a great week. And until next time, geek on.